Welcome to my channel. This next request, and in fact all the rest of my requests for today, are from Paul. And this one is Lucie Horsch and Thomas Dunford. And the piece that they'll be performing is, and this is French, I probably won't pronounce it right, Couplets de Folies. It means couplets of the folly. Paul wrote this note, a little different this. She is Dutch and a world-renowned recorder player. He is a world-renowned French lute player. So, we got a lute and a recorder. Now that is an unusual combination of instruments. So this is going to be really interesting, at least to me, to watch. But before we get into that, I certainly have to thank you for coming here and for supporting me and for all your wonderful requests like this. This stuff, you know, I don't know how popular these things are. I usually see less views to a lot of these kinds of things. I guess doesn't interest as many people. But nonetheless, I enjoy them and I like doing them. And so I'm going to continue because you've asked for it. And so I'm going to do what you asked for. I don't really care. I appreciate all the views. I appreciate all the subscriptions. But frankly, they don't matter to me enough to change what I'm doing. Let's put it like that. I'm doing what I want to do and what you've asked me to do. And that's what I enjoy doing. So that's how it is on this channel. I always put the artist links in the description of their playlist, except with new artists like these. If I don't have any additional requests for them, I'll put those links in the description of the video because I don't create a playlist unless I have an artist, unless I have requests for an artist for 2 or more times. I do make exceptions to that in some cases where I kind of think I'll be doing more whether you ask me to or not, but in general, I don't make playlists for people that are only requested once. So I just put the links into the video description. That's where I put the link to the song I'm reacting to, by the way. And I also put a link from Wikipedia for the song or the performers or whatever I can find that's relevant. And I always put the link to the reaction request form so you can request reactions if you want to. I don't take requests from the comments. If you put a request in the comments, I'm going to reply with a link to the form for you to fill out. So do that, please. That's how it works on this channel. So this is Lucie Horsch and Thomas Dunford, and it says Marin Marai, Couplets de Folies. Well, who did you think of when you heard this music? I thought of Mozart immediately. It just stuck in my head. This sounds like Mozart to me. Uh, he was a genius, a musical genius. And these two are, especially the girl, musical prodigies. They are really, my God, she was going so fast. And a lot of that was her mouth, not the instrument. Because if you watched her fingers, they were moving, but they weren't moving that fast. But she was making all that staccato sound with her breath control, which was amazing to me. I'm really impressed with the both of them, but especially with her. That was really that brought back memories of when I used to go to classical concerts, which at the time I hated, and now I love them. So how life turns, huh? Oh man, I tell you what, I pray for you every day. And my prayer for you is that you will learn to walk with God the way that He wants you to, which is not the way you are often taught in the churches. And I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about. There's a verse in Romans chapter 12, verse 3. I'm going to read it to you. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. Now, most of the time, when you hear people talk about that verse, they'll explain to you in whatever terminology they choose to use that what this verse is telling you is that you should not get puffed up. You should not think highly of yourself. But I'm telling you that is the exact opposite of what this verse is saying. Let me read it to you again. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought. Stop. Okay, how highly ought you to think of yourself? Well, Colossians 1:27 says, to them God has chosen to make known among the Gentiles the glorious riches of this mystery, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. So when you're born again, you have Christ in you. Okay? In John 14:12, Jesus Christ himself said, very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I'm going to the Father. Now, think about what Jesus Christ did. He raised people from the dead. He turned water into wine. He fed a multitude with a paltry amount of food and managed to have leftovers. That's what Jesus Christ did. And he says, the works that I do, that I have been doing, you will do also, and you will do greater works than these, because I'm going to my Father. Greater than what Jesus Christ did. So, let's go back to Romans 12:3. How highly should you think of yourself? You should think of yourself as being on top of the world. Now, I'm not saying you should get puffed up and ego-driven. What I'm saying is you should recognize the power that God has placed inside you. When he put Christ in you, he gave you everything that Christ had and more. So, for by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. Sober judgment is to recognize that the faith that is in you is Christ, and that you can do the works that Christ did and greater works than Christ. That's the sober judgment. Okay? So I keep talking about this, but I have to find a way to get through to you to understand. Your sins are forgiven. You don't have to think about them. You don't have to feel like you're not worthy, like you don't qualify, like you're not good enough. No, you are good enough because God has placed Christ inside you, and that makes you the same as Him in terms of power and ability. You just have to believe it. You just have to accept it. You just have to say, I'm going to walk in the power that God has placed in me, and I'm going to do mighty things. And you will. And the more of us that believe that, the more mighty works, the more miracles we will see. Because miracles follow belief. They don't precede belief. So my prayer for you is that you will walk in the power that you've been given, and that you will not shy away from being what you are, a son of God, born again, filled with the power of Jesus Christ. And that's my prayer for every single person in the world that's born again. For those that aren't, we have other things to talk about. But for those of you that are, start walking in the power you've been given. You will be amazed by the results. This is the Vietnam Era Vet, out.